To do a rendering, you either need to go to the View tab and then select on Render, or select on the Show Rendering dialog box, which I always say looks like a little teapot, down at the bottom of the screen. Here inside of the Rendering dialog box, we have a variety of different settings that we can adjust. One setting would be Quality. Draft quality is the worst looking image, but it's also the fastest to do. Best, it's usually the highest quality kind of rendering that you can do, but it can take quite a while, particularly if there's lots of lights inside of the scene. In fact, if it's a scene that only has 1 or 2 interior lights, it usually goes pretty quick. If it's a scene that has 100, 150 interior lights, it can take multiple hours to actually generate one of those renderings on best. So I usually recommend doing your first rendering either on draft or on medium, just to get a better feel for what kind of lighting you may get inside of the scene. Then, if you need to do a higher quality of rendering, go to either high or best to do the absolute best quality of renderings that you can do in Revit. For this example, I'm just going to choose medium. For the type of lighting, there's options here for different kinds of schemes that you can use. The schemes include exterior lighting as well as interior lighting. Exterior lighting is usually a little bit darker. A good use of exterior lighting is whenever your scene looks like it's a little bit too bright when you've done a rendering, particularly if it should be an interior scene. If your interior scene looks too bright, try exterior. Oftentimes that helps and makes the scene look better. Vice versa is true as well. If your outdoor scene just looks a little bit too dark, try interior lighting, because interior lighting will always brighten the scene up. Now the different options are sun only, which will provide you with only light coming from the sun. Sun and artificial, sunlight, as well as any light sources that you've placed inside of the scene. Artificial only will have no sunlight, but just artificial lights in the scene. For this specific scene, the one that I'm going to choose is actually going to be exterior, sun, and artificial. Now, the reason why I'm choosing exterior, sun, and artificial is I know that if I try to render this scene as being interior, sun, and artificial, we'll have a lot of sunlight just streaming into the scene, and all that sunlight will make everything too bright. So I want to do the exterior lighting, even though it's an interior scene, because I know exterior renderings are a little bit darker than the interior renderings. There's also an option here for sun settings. And if you click on the button, you can choose your sun location, either top right or top left, or you can get more specific by selecting on still and then choosing your location where you are in the world. If you select on the button next to location, you can either use an internet mapping service, or you can go to the default city list and then pick any of these cities off of the list. As you can tell, it's quite extensive, so there's a good chance that there's a city close to where you need to be doing this rendering for. Now, personally, I usually use the internet mapping service and then type in the exact address and then click on OK, and then I get accurate lighting for the time of day that I choose here, as well as the date for that location in the world. In this example, though, I think I'm just going to do the winter solstice to let in more light directly coming in through the windows. Now I'll click on OK. Background. You have options here for a variety of different kinds of clouds. Just using a color for the background. You could use an image for the background. An example of that would be as if you've been out on site, you've taken a photograph, and now you want to bring that in and have that be a part of your rendering of the way that the building will look once it's completed. Or you can even use transparent, which means that there won't be a background and it'll just be a transparent image, as far as the background is concerned anyway. Now, what I'll do is I'll just choose very few clouds, though I doubt I'll be able to see any clouds at all due to the kind of scene that we currently have. Finally, whenever everything is set up the way that you want, you can always select on the render button to start the rendering. Oh, one more thing. There's also an option here for resolution, where you can match the screen resolution, or select where it has printer and actually choose what kind of resolution that you want off of the pull-down list. I'll just use the screen resolution and then select on render. Now, because I have the quality set at medium, this could take a matter of 15 seconds, 20 seconds. It could take 2 minutes. If I had it up on high or on best, it could take multiple hours to actually do this rendering of the inside of the kitchen area. Finally, when the rendering is complete, you can either export the image out, which saves it out to a file, or you can save the image to your project itself. In this exercise, I'm just going to save the image to my project. So I'll save the project, and it'll ask, what do you want to name this image? And I'll just name the image Kitchen Rendering, and click on OK. Now this rendering has been saved to the Revit project, and it can then be used to be printed off. It could be put on as a cover image. It could be used for a wide variety of things. To get out of the rendering, you can just click the X in the upper right-hand corner of the dialog box. And then if we scroll down here in our project browser, we'll see that we have a variety of renderings available to us. Most of these were done already before we started the exercise, but here's Kitchen Rendering. And if we double click on Kitchen Rendering, here we can see the rendering that we just produced.